just have a talk about the good old days, some of my memories from when I was younger and everything like that, and the things that I used to get to do, and times I got to spend with different people I cared about, and some of the crazy things that I got up to, and just kind of have a general just talk and discussion about some just different things. So, one of the things I remember from back when I was a kid was our family was very, very, very about like camping. We would go out and we would camp pretty much like a good, like, different few months out of every year. And we would go out typically for about 2.5 weeks, depending on what time my grandparents could get off, basically. And we would go out and we'd load up our truck with whatever stuff, and we'd hook up the, big old trailer, because we had like a 24-foot trailer back in the day, and we'd head up, we'd go out, and we'd pick a spot and everything like that, and they would kind of have a spot that was kind of planned and everything like that, and we'd set up, and, you know, when we were young, us kids didn't really do a whole lot to kind of set up. We kind of just explored the area while they set up everything, and then, you know, just campfire stories and having s'mores and everything like that. The simple life, not too crazy. And then as we got older, and more trust was given to us kind of exploring and going out on our own and everything like that, we got these cool little like wrist walkie-talkies. Now they didn't have like fantastic range, right? But that was kind of the point. We could go out only so far, and when it started to like crackle and we couldn't really hear very well, that was time to head a little bit for closer to the camp. That was kind of like our limitation, right? Like if you couldn't hear it coming through clearly, you were too far. And so, you know, and we loved it too because, how cool is it to have like a little wrist walkie-talkie with a little flip antenna and everything like that, and you push a button and you talk into it. It was cool. It was cool for kids, you know what I mean? And so that was kind of the simple thing for us and everything like that, and we really, really loved it and we really enjoyed it. Well, one of the other things was as we got even older, it would be designated that one kid for when we were out camping and everything like that would be the scout. We would be the one that would go and look ahead and see if there was anything out and around and stuff like that that we were really interested in doing. And so the other would have their wrist walkie-talkie, and then one would be designated. And my family would choose one kid out of us all to have a Nextel. I don't know if you remember those yellow, black, I think it was Nextel. Anyways, walkie-talkies and everything like that. And one would be designated to go and take a look. And that walkie-talkie could go like a mile out. So we would just go, and sometimes we would use it as a kind of uh, as a way to kind of just go and just view and do whatever and stuff like that. And so whenever it was my turn, I booked it out. And I just would go walking and I would explore and I would look at the woods and everything like that. Hello, hello. I'm gonna probably butcher your comment name, Uski Maz. Hello, hello. Nice to see you on here. Anyways, and so I remember another time. It was late. We decided that we were going to kind of have like a fun little game together and everything like that. And me and my stepsister were kind of having like a kind of like a toy gun like firefight, and we were running around. Well, my family had set up all right, sky works for me. But anyways, nice to meet you. Anyways, my family had set up clotheslines, and at the time no clothes were on them, and I remember we were running around, we were acting all crazy and everything like that, acting like we were shooting each other and stuff like that, and I shit you not, my stepsister straight up clotheslined herself. I cannot say this any more straight up, like full on hit the neck, flip backwards, hit the ground. It was full so funny, and we were like rolling on the ground laughing about it and everything like that. And then I remember that night we finished up everything by sleeping on our cots by the campfire. Very simplistic, very fun. It was always something that was really, really enjoyable because it would get cold where we were, especially up in the hills. very, very cold. Even if it wasn't snowy or anything, it was just freezing. Um, so I remember one of the other things too with me is when I was young, I was extremely, extremely. I am not Jesus. I do not claim to be Jesus. I never will claim to be Jesus. But I know the look. I've heard it before. So one of the other things was I had motion sickness when I was young, and when we would go camping, there's a lot of switchbacks on the road that wind up around the mountain, right? And I remember I would get to the point where I would get so sick because my grandfather loved to go really fast around these switchbacks around the mountain. And I would have to have him stop and pull over so I could vomit because my motion sickness would get to me. And I remember there was one year um, we went, and it happened so many times because we were going to a really far back area. Um, we were going to a specific lake area, and it was really far back in the mountains. And I had thrown up a good like 5, 6 times by this point. Of course. What's up? I'm gonna probably butcher your name. Faisal. I'm a sore. How are you doing? Appreciate you, man. Love you being here. So anyways, so I had thrown up a good 5, 6 times. And so there was like nothing in my stomach, right? I was running on no energy. There was nothing. I'm not Jesus, guys. Anyways, so we got to the campsite, and this was before we had our 24-foot trailer, right? We had like a tent trailer that when we would set it up, the screen awning, it would come out, and you'd have to kind of like hold these strings on the side, and then someone would stake it into the ground to kind of hold the awning. And I was holding one of those, right? And I started to feel really, really dizzy and faint. And next thing I know, I'm waking up in our truck in the passenger seat, and my family's like trying to feed me peanuts to give me some protein and energy, right? Because there was nothing in my stomach. And so, yeah, that was kind of the wake up call for my family that I had really bad motion sickness. And so they were trying to like keep me on the straight up and up. Well, anyways, moving on to some other crazy things that I got into later on in my years and everything like that. Thank you, man. I appreciate you, Faisal. Um, so Thank you, man. Thank you. I appreciate you. So I remember there was later on, uh, I was a teenager. I was probably like 18 at this point. So I was up there in years. Um, Me and some of my friends decided that during one of our things, because I used to be a part of different kind of extracurriculars when I was in high school. I was like involved in band, choir, theater, broadcasting, photography. I was in everything I could think of because I wanted to get into film. Um, and so, anyways, I went and during one of my football games on a Friday, me and some of the people, after we did our marching show at the halftime, we decided we were going to go and explore the grounds. Uh, hey man, do not give your home address on here, man. I appreciate hearing that you're from Poland and everything like that, and that's really, really awesome. And I'm glad that I'm reaching out to people from other countries and you guys can see this stuff. But please do not share your home address. So many people could take advantage of that. Please remove that comment. I do not want that being used for various reasons. I removed it myself. So, anyways, um, we decided that we were going to explore because there was a kind of like a little because where I used to live was very Mormon oriented. Yes, so there was kind of like a Mormon. school that was next to my high school that could be gone to for kind of like extracurricular activities, right? Um, Me and some of my bandmates decided that we were going to go and explore this place. Now, before you ask, yes, this was considered trespassing. We were dumb teenagers at the time, okay? So, we decided that we were going to go to the property of this place at night because our games would run up until like 8, 9 at night, sometimes later, dependent, because sometimes there would be different events and things that they would announce. So we go, me, a few of my buddies, my girlfriend was there at the time and everything like that. We hop the fence to this place and we get to the back of this place. It's dark, can't see anything. We get around to the back and all of a sudden a floodlight just comes on. Bing! And we are caught in this floodlight and everybody freezes. And then the sprinklers turned on. So here we are, standing there in this floodlight, and all the sprinklers come on and start soaking us. So that is when we decided that we were going to hop back over the fence. Well, then we hear someone that apparently was someone that worked in that building come out and they start shouting at us. Hey, you damn kids, da 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 da. So we start sprinting, taking off, cutting through different neighborhoods and stuff like that. And we end up in a field. And I remember it was a cornfield because it was a bit of like farming community where I used to live and stuff like that. Got into a cornfield. I don't know where any of my friends are, don't know where my girlfriend is. Everybody's kind of separated at this point. He did not. He did not catch us. He did not chase us very far. We thought he had, which is why we were running so hard. You're not stupid, my brother. Do not worry. So, anyways, in the end, everybody reconvenes and we're all laughing our asses off. We're like, oh man, that was crazy, da 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 da. And you know what's funny is we never got inside the very building we were looking to explore. No problem, man. You're good. Do you, man? So anyways, sometime later, I decided that I was going to go and I was going... Okay, this is going to sound really, really dumb. So, I'm going to explain this as best as I can. This probably may not make me sound like a very good person, so be ready for it. So, I had a friend at the time. I won't give his last name. I'll give his first name. His name was... Oh, excuse me, I almost dropped my phone there. His name was Keegan, yes? Had a friend, his girlfriend, at the time was one of my best friends. And so the situation kind of got a little crazy, okay? He had a girl coming down from another place that was a friend of his. And his girlfriend, my friend, this is a nickname. Her name was Amanda. What do you need me to repeat, brother? Let me know. I'll go back a little bit. So I had a friend, right, that had a girlfriend that was my best friend. Okay. Anyways, and so what happened is my friend Keegan was bringing some other friend of his that was a female from Missouri to come and stay with him and his family. And my good friend Manda, his girlfriend, was extremely jealous in this situation. And so what ended up happening is they had a fight, and he told her if she came around at any point when this girl was around, he would break up with her. And so he was extremely like taking a huge weird stance on this. And so of course she got really, really insecure about it. Here's where this is probably going to make me sound bad. she started reaching out to me. Okay? Now, in case you're wondering, it's kind of a cheating story without being a full-on cheating story. So if y'all are not good with that, walk away now. So, anyways, she reaches out to me. We start hanging out a bit more during this time and everything like that. And I remember it was during the winter season. It was extremely cold out. And so when we would go and we would hang out and everything like that, she kept starting doing sly things. Like she would take my hands, like she was warming them up, putting them in hers. She'd hug me more, things like that, right? And I knew what was going on. I wasn't an idiot. I was like 19 years old. I knew what was up. Or no, I was 18, excuse me. But anyways, so thank you, brother. So slowly, her and I started to fall for each other. Yes. And I remember it happened the strongest on one day where I was home. I was listening to music, Linkin Park. If you can't tell, I'm a Linkin Park fan by all my other content and shorts on YouTube. Well, if you haven't figured that out yet. But anyways, so I was just jamming out and everything like that, and all of a sudden I get a knock on my door. And I answer, and my grandma's standing there, and she says, "Hey, there's a girl at the door. Says she knows you and needs to talk to you. It says it's urgent." And so immediately I'm like, "Oh shit, what's going on?" So I go rushing to the door, and I see my friend Manda there, and she's in tears. And anyways, she immediately like throws me into a hug and everything like that. And she like holds me there. And she's like, "I'm doing this partially because it's really, really cold." I'm like, "Okay, it's cool, whatever." Well, then she started giving me these like nighttime calls. And she would ask me to come and see her. And I remember the very first time this happened, I was on my way. I was heading. I snuck out of my house. I was on my way, and then she sends me another message saying, "No, it's okay. You don't need to come." I'm like, "Well, shit, I'm already out here. I can't just go back." And so I hit up Keegan. I was like, "Hey, what are you doing right now?" He's like, "I'm just hanging out with so and so." And I was like, "Can I come over?" And he's like, "Yeah, come on over." So I did and everything like that, and saw his mom and everything like that, went upstairs. He was gaming. He was playing Assassin's Creed 2, I believe. And this chick's just sitting there watching him play. And, well, I can see he's on his phone and he's like messaging like crazy. And it looks like you can tell when someone's pissed off, when they're messaging, There's a certain like cadence to how they're going at it. They're kind of like, they're getting in there and everything like that, you know what I mean? And that's what he's doing. And I'm like, "Oh, this is him and Manda going back and forth." And so I was like, and then my phone starts buzzing. And so I pick up, it's Manda. She goes, "Hey, where are you right now?" I'm like, "I'm at Keegan's." And she's like, "Can you come over? I'm sorry, I know I said that you didn't need to, but can you come over?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll be right over." And he goes, "Hey, you leaving?" I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Manda's upset." And he's like, "Oh, she'll get over it. Da, 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 da." I'm like, "Yeah, but you know what? You're not being there for her right now, and I'm going to be." And I left him on that. And I know that was harsh. I know that was fucked up. But it was the truth at the time. And I'm nothing but blunt. And so I head over there, and I'm going to kind of keep this bit a little bit short. But anyways, Amanda and I started seeing each other more and more at night. And it never got to anything too crazy. It never went into anything extremely sexual. We would kiss, we'd do different things. It became like we were in a relationship, and there was a lot of feelings and emotions there. But we felt we had to keep everything hidden, of course, because she was with Keegan. And so it became this whole crazy thing, like, where we would be there at school, we'd see him and everything like that, and we felt like we had to keep everything hidden. We couldn't let others know because we were so scared of, like, if people knew, what would they think? And it's a really fucked up thing. A lot of people don't see the side of like when there is strong feelings. Everybody thinks cheating is such a horrible thing. And a lot of the time, what it really is an emotional thing. You have someone that feels these strong emotions for more than one person, and they get stuck in this situation. Now, I will say that I decided to do the right thing. And I went and I told Amanda, I was like, look, I can't keep doing this behind Keegan's back. I can't do this to my friend. And I was like, we need to just stop as we are and everything like that. And she ended up not talking to me for quite some time, said that, it was just best if we just kind of separated. We would speak and stuff like that when he was around and things like that, but otherwise we didn't associate. And it was probably for the better. Now, skip to some time ahead. There was... So, me and my friend, another friend of mine, her name was Molly, I went to stay with her and her family after I had graduated high school. Yes? And her family were extremely, extremely strict in a lot of different ways, but they tried to be accepting of a lot of things because they were Southern Baptists. So they're very against a lot of things that they feel are against their religion. So the fact that they allowed us at this one point to have a Halloween party was kind of crazy. And here was our idea for this party, right? So we wanted to do kind of like a vampire hunter theme party. And we selected so many of our friends, got them to say, yes, we'll be there, da-da-da-da-da. Well, here's the thing, how we did this. We broke it down, and I don't remember, she had some sort of like a randomizer system that kind of like categorized and gave like numbers, and we had set that different numbers would be for different things. So some would be the vampires, some would be the hunters. Well, the people that were supposed to be the vampires for this party, right, were the ones that already knew where the location was. So they would come and everything like that, and we gave them everything like that, and that was set. So they knew where the location was. The hunters had to find the party. And we had clues and stuff like that set up at different points around in different areas. And it was kind of like a little hunt for them. And they had to find where the vampires were. Da, 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 you know what I mean? And so that was kind of the cool thing. Well, we kind of had started ramping this up. We did all this stuff where we were making videos to kind of make me look like someone that was undergoing the change to become like a vampire and everything like that. And we were really getting into this, and we were posting these all, and we were sending them out to our friends. And I remember we made this like really, really grotesque, by the way. Like, I mean, I remember we we went got like prop arms and stuff like that, made it look like I was like feeding off of them and stuff. I had like these fake fangs that I had like the putty prosthetic things that like slid them over my canine, so I looked like I had like these long, vampire fangs and everything like that, and fake blood on my face. Like, oh man, dude, it was crazy. Well, then I nearly got arrested at the age of 19 for one of our final little things that we were trying to do and shoot. So the final clue and final thing as to what the point of these hunters for this party was Molly was the damsel in distress. I was to take her, look like I had bit her and everything like that, and was trying to undergo her transformation, and they were supposed to come and save her. We did this whole thing where she was in a white dress, bunch of fake blood, looked like I bit her and everything like that. Well, we did this on an open road in Keegan and some of my other friends' neighborhood. Someone called the police. They show up, and you know what? Even though they knew she was okay, they left me like that for a good half hour. They did not remove the cuffs from me for a good half hour, as they were getting the full story of this. Needless to say, after this happened, the party went smashingly. Basically, we set it up to where the vampires, they would have so many times they could be hit by like these little Nerf dart guns, basically, which were the weapons of the hunters. before they were destroyed, right? And then I, the last one, had to be hit so many times. Well, here was the point of it. Make sure they had shot all the other ones and wasted the majority of their darts, because I had to be hit 5 times, unlike the others, only 3. And so then I could go around, and if I was able to get up close to them, I'd act like I'd bit them. That would be their destruction, right? And so they were supposed to save Molly, right? So it went well. It was fun, and then everybody got to hang out afterwards, and we had, blood punch and everything like that. Everything was themed around vampires. It was cool. It was awesome. Now, I remember one night, um, I was wanting to see my girlfriend. I was with some other girl at this point, and I decided I was going to sneak out. And like I said, these people were Southern Baptists, her parents. I snuck out, and I sprinted, and then would walk when I'd get tired, sprinted all the way to her house. Had my little liaison with her and everything like that, and then I came back and could not get inside. So, I had to call Molly on her phone. Mind you, this is like 5 in the morning, because that's when I finally got back. I wake her by calling her, and I'm like, I can't get inside. And for whatever reason, she's like, there's a key up under the lip of the thing out there. I don't remember what she said it was. It was like, I think like the regulator or whatever for something. But up under the lip, there was a key that would allow me to get in, because she didn't want to come down. She was too scared. So I'm sitting here feeling up under this thing, trying to find the key. I finally find it. I get it out from under there and everything like that. I unlock the thing and I walk in. And I think I'm scot-free. I think I've gotten away with it and everything like that. And I'm like, oh yeah, okay, nobody knows. We're good, we're good. And as I'm crossing in front of the stairwell that goes down to like the little living room area, I hear, Seth, we need to talk. And I put my hand on my face and I just sighed. And I turn and I see that her dad's sitting there. Luckily, her mom didn't know. So I went down and I was like, all right, I'll let you start. And he goes, look, I can't tell you that you are stuck here. He's like, you're an adult. But I can't have you doing this whole, like, slipping in and out of the house late at night and everything like that. He's like, it's very disruptive. He's like, you can't be doing this kind of thing. And he explained it very, very smooth and easily. Wasn't even really that angry. And he goes, just do it a better way. He's like, if you're going to do it, just go out the door. He's like, if you need a key, we'll get you a key. He's like, he was super cool about it. I was actually kind of surprised. Her mom was kind of the evil one. Anyway, but anyways, so some time passes, and I heard from my parents, my real parents. I was not raised by my real parents, okay? I was raised by my grandmother and her husband, a step-grandfather. So my parents got a hold of me out of the blue, and I was so excited because I hadn't heard from my parents since I was a kid. Like, I didn't know anything about them, just what I'd heard from my grandmother, and they had me young and everything like that. And so I was like, okay, so let's get into this. So I started speaking to them, and I decided the person I wanted to go and stay with first was my father. So I went, I met him and everything like that. And I remember he would come home. Now, mind you, I was like 19 years old. He would come home from his job with different liquor, right? And he would pour shots, and he would ask me questions, and we would do these over shots. Well, then I started to realize that he couldn't retain any of the information he was asking me. And so I started to kind of be like, well, why am I here? Well, then I got to meet my sister. I remember the very first day I met her, we decided that we were going to go and spend a day together. And so she was showing me areas around where she had kind of grown up and everything like that. Well, then she got a call that her dog was being put down. And I remember the very first day I got to actually spend a day with my sister, her dog was being killed, man. And so we had to take bus, train, and everything like that to get over to where this veterinary clinic was. And I had to sit there with her as they put down her dog. Because this thing got really, really ill. It was to the point where, like, its bodily functions were just... It had no control over them. It would urinate and defecate just whenever the stuff was filled. It couldn't control itself. It was really old. It was just dying. It was really sad, and they felt it was the best option. And her family was supposed to take care of this because they knew she was spending the day with me, and they put it on her because they decided they didn't want to go. I was like, what pieces of shit could you be, man? And so we dealt with that, and she was super sad, and I was trying to, like, cheer her up and everything like that, and I was like, well, hey, where do you want to go next? And she's like, well, do you want to go back to Dad's, or what do you want to do? And I was like, no, I want to stay and hang with you and everything like that. And she goes, well, I don't think my grandparents would mind if you come over and hang out at our place and everything like that. So I went over there. What we didn't know is a part of the problem with this dog was a really, really bad flea problem. And apparently it had got some sicknesses from the flea bites and everything like that. Well, this place was loaded with fleas. I remember as soon as I got there, I started feeling them all on me and everything like that. And they started biting and it just was a horrible, horrible situation. But it was too late to back out from staying there at this point. Because it got late enough, I was like, man, trying to get back over to Dad's and everything like that was not going to be a thing. So that kind of died off. So I stayed there and everything like that, and then ended up headed back over and everything like that. Well, I decided after a while that I was going to head over and stay with my mom. And I met my brothers. I had 4 brothers I did not know about the whole time that I got to meet. Well, here's the thing. When you have 5 brothers all together, shit happens. So, my mother told me that our original landlord was pressuring her. And she told me this stuff because I was the adult, yes. Was pressuring her, saying that he would lower rent costs and stuff because he was raising rent. He would lower it for her if she would do favors. Yes. So, what was my retaliation? I got me and my brothers. We had high-powered airsoft rifles. We went to this piece of shit's car because he was trying to solicit favors from my mom. Loaded these things up with metal BBs. And we shot the hell out of his car. His windows, his doors, the hood, the trunk. We pelted this thing with so many metal BBs that were now stuck into everywhere. Now, he suspected that this had happened. He suspected that this was a thing and everything like that. But we had a little cubby hideaway for our airsofts that was like a little remove in the wall behind our washer and dryer where we would stash these things. So, when he sent the police over, we're like, we don't know where these are. We got no idea. Da-da-da-da-da. Played it off. So, sometime later, I remember we were playing football out in the little park area because we lived in like a little apartment that had like a central little park area and it had like a little grass area and everything like that. And we were playing football. And I remember it was me and my youngest of brothers because I had a brother that was close to my age. He was like 2.5 years younger than me. So he was around 16 and a half, 17 at the time. Me and my youngest ones were playing football with these Hispanic kids from across the way. And everything was going fine until their elder brother came out and he started playing really, really dirty. I mean, he'd throw out his arm, he'd slam him to the ground. He was being really, really vicious. And so I had to start intervening. And then he had a friend that came and everything like that. And they started targeting me because they realized I was the only one that could put up a fight against them. And so then I was like, all right, this is going to turn into a fight. This is going to get ugly. But I was like, Dylan, go get your brother. And so he went and got the second eldest out of us all. And we started really, really playing a grunge game of football. And this turned into a big old fight. And I remember the second eldest out of us lost his cool. He took one of them. I think it was the eldest. He literally started whacking this kid with his scooter, and he drug him over to a park. And he started beating this kid. And I remember I had to stop him. I was like, dude, you're gonna you're going too far, man. We gotta stop. But like, this was a feud between us for like a long time after that, and it got pretty crazy. Well, moving forward, I remember one of our other stupid little hijinks we decided to do was we would go to the mall that was close to our place, and we would buy the 25-cent bouncy balls, and we would buy them in like droves. We'd come there with like dollars upon dollars, and we'd just buy out as many as we could, load them in a bag, and then we'd go to the overpass that led to where that mall was and led back to where our home was. And we'd stand there and we would huck these over the overpass at the cars underneath that were on the freeway. And why we found this entertaining, I don't know. But one day, we threw and we pegged this guy perfectly right on his windshield. Bink! And he got so mad that he actually went off the off-ramp of the freeway, and he came up to where we were and he started screaming at us. And he got so mad, he got out of his car and he was like right up on us, right? Like yelling in our face and everything like that. And I remember this was the time because our mom had said she was going to meet us at the mall because we were doing something. We were going to buy something. Anyways, she gets there and she straight up tells him, she's like, you need to get in your fucking car and leave. I don't care what they were doing. They didn't hurt anything. Get in your car and go. And he kind of got lippy with her and everything like that. And she goes, do it or I'm going to make you look a fool. And so he finally got in his car. Well, then, a little while later, my brother, Larry, he was the second eldest out of us, decided that him and his friend wanted to do what is called the gallon milk challenge. Okay? Now, I don't know if some of y'all know what this is. So the normal challenge is basically what you're trying to do is you're trying to chug as much of a gallon of milk as you can before you throw up. That's really all the challenge is. It's super stupid. But that's the whole point of the challenge. Now, they, of course, changed the rules a little bit because they did this with 2 people. So they still tried to follow the same rules, but it was more of like whoever threw up first was going to be the loser. Now, they dyed their milk, respectively, different colors. One used red, which of course turned to pink because of the white milk, and then another used blue, which made it a really light blue. And we went and we're like, okay, we're gonna film this. We're gonna throw this on YouTube. It's still out there somewhere. I don't remember the account name anymore. It's been too long, but they decided they were going to do this, and so we're like, okay, well, we need a location. So we waited until the evening, and we went out, and I was the one filming, and we ended up in front of like this dealership. I think it was like a Toyota dealership or whatever, and we were on the sidewalk outside of their place, and like out by the street. And anyways, they start, and they're going, and they're drinking it and everything like that, and then they both vomited at basically the same time. They're, pink and blue just all over the street and everything like that. And I'm, sitting here like trying to film this, light going and everything like that, trying to film it perfectly. And I'm like retching because it's disgusting, right? I'm like trying to like hold it in. And, well, then a security person comes and is like, hey, you guys are technically still on the property of this dealership. I need you to kind of shift down a ways if you can. I don't care if you're filming this and doing whatever, but you need to move. So we're like, okay, and everything like that. So we move a little ways. And we cross the street. And now we're like in front of this fence. And not really paying attention to like what's behind it, what's going on and everything like that. And they continue. And so they keep chugging, and they're sitting here. And so now we've changed the rules to whoever throws up the most is the loser. Yes, because they're kind of throwing up around the same time. And so we're like, okay, well, let's just make it whoever throws up the most, you lose, and then the challenge is over. So they keep going, and they're throwing up. Well, then a cop shows. And he goes, hey guys, we're getting reports that, from people that there's, teens that are throwing up out here and everything like that. And he's like, we're like, who's the complainant? Who's giving the complaint? They're like, the people in the trailer park behind you. We're like, what? And that's when we realized where we were standing. And so then we're like, all right, so what are they claiming? They're like, they think you're drinking. And we're like, no. And we showed them, and we let them like, check the cartons and everything like that, the jugs. And he's like, no, it's milk. All right, well, do your thing, just don't do it here. So of course, our lovely decisions, we decided that we were going to go onto this property of an auto parts store that's clearly closed. It's all dark and everything like that. We're like, all right, let's go here. But we went to the back where the loading bay was. And now, I don't know if you've ever like been in the back of some of these places, like the loading bays where they like actually have their semis come in. It has like a dip, like it goes down, and then it has like on the back end, it's raised where the people will stand to unload the trucks. Yes, so they were standing on that back thing, and they were puking down into the down ramp for these trucks. They were throwing up into that, and we're sitting here. We're doing this for some time, and I noticed that there was one vehicle that was still left in the parking lot. And I'm like, something's not right here. And so my brothers keep doing this and everything like that. And then I see this man come walking out, and he goes up to this car, and he throws open the door. And he kind of looks over at his shoulder at us. He gets in. He starts up his vehicle, and he sits there for like a good 5 minutes. And I'm like, this guy's up to something. Something's going on, and this doesn't feel right. And, excuse me a moment. Drinking my wake-up juice. Anyways, so this man sits there for a little bit. And then all of a sudden, he slowly starts to pull out. And just as soon as he gets out of sight, all of a sudden I see red and blue. And 2 police cruisers pull in. Oh, excuse me. 3. There was 2 cops. No, 2. It was 2. It was 2 cops. Sorry, I have other instances where I've had different showings. No, this was 2. It was 2 cops apiece. There was 4 cops. They get out and they come walking up to us and they're like, "Hey, we got reports of trespassing and teenagers drinking alcohol and throwing up." And we're like, so they're like, "Come over here, sit on the sidewalk." And so we come over and we sit down and everything like that. And they're like, "All right, what's going on?" Da 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 da. And so we show them the milk cartons, and they're like, "No, it's milk. It smells bad, obviously, but it's milk." And so then they're like, "But you guys are still technically trespassing." And we're like, "We have no problem with leaving. You know, we're just trying to find a place to, you know, do our video and stuff like that and everything like that." Well, then he goes, "Who's the oldest here?" And so I raised my hand. I'm like, "Me." And he's like, "You let them do this?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's fucking hilarious." And so then he goes, "Look, I can't just let you walk away." I'm like, "Why not?" The whole rule of like trespass is if you are trespassing, you are asked to leave. And then if you leave without any further problems, it is not a trespassing charge. I have to deem that I want to remain on the property if I am, you know, asked to leave. I have not been asked to leave yet. So he kind of got a little like, yeah, well, then my brother, Larry, is on the phone. He goes, he's talking to my mom. And I can hear my mom. My mom's really loud on the phone. Even when she's like not on speakerphone, you can hear her clear as day. And I could hear her go, "I want to speak to the officer." And Larry goes, "She wants to talk to you." The cop goes, "Nah, nah." And I hear my mom go, "If he doesn't talk to me, he's going to lose his badge." And he holds out his hand. And so then he starts talking to her, and I can hear her saying, "I will meet them at the top of the hill that is just there," and everything like that, and I will bring him home. Well, we get up to the top of the hill and everything like that. She's not there, and I figured she wouldn't be. She said that just so we could come home. We get home. We share this video with her and everything like that, and she's like, "That is fucking disgusting." And we're like, "Yes, but it is going to get views." So we threw it up, and there it was. That's how it went, guys. So, anyways, thank you all. Thanks those who were here. Thank those for all your support and all the people that commented. Sky, Naz, thank you for being here and everything like that. All the shout outs to all the others that were here throughout this. Flowery Jaruna, nice, nice, nice. And Dillaway, I don't know what you were just kidding about, but anyways. And then all those that kept calling me Jesus. I am not Jesus. I may have the beard, the mustache, and the hair, but definitely not Jesus. So, love y'all. Thank you for being here. Have a great day, guys. Love y'all.